Your second x is a 2. So we're going to put those in our calculator. You guys can do that if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and do it by hand. We get -6 over -1 or +6. So that's our slope. And remember, slope is represented by m. So our second step is we're going to take our y equals mx plus b. And we're going to plug in for these three variables, y, m, and x. You pick whichever coordinate you want to. On the paper that we get in just a minute, or on the notes that we have, they give you one coordinate, so you have to pick that coordinate. On this one, I would pick the positive one. So 2, 5 is what I'm going to pick, just because it's positive numbers and I can work with those a little bit easier. So I'm looking at this one. What is my y coordinate? 5. What did I get for m? What is my x coordinate? 2. And then I'm going to put plus b. This is the same step. Right here is where you'll start today. Okay, right here is where you'll start today. We're going to solve for b. 6 times 2 is 12. And then to get b by itself, I can subtract 12. I get b equals -7. You guys can do that in your calculator. Don't stress too much about that. So that was step 3. Now we can write our equation. Y equals, what was our m? We're going to use our m and our b. So 6x, and our b was -7. That's it. Again, we're doing the same thing in our notes in just a minute. I'm going to skip down to number 3. That way you guys can still see what I did. We're going to start with our slope, y minus y over x minus x. What are your two y coordinates? 5 and 2, so 5 minus 2. What are your two x's? 2 minus 1. If you guys want to put it in your calculator, you can do alpha y equals 5 minus 2, 2 minus 1, and it gives us 3. Remember, 3 is our m. Okay, so we know how to find slope. We did that very first thing in our notes, okay? Second thing is we're going to write our equation, y equals mx plus b. And we're going to plug in just for the first 3. Pick any coordinate. This one's tinier, a little bit lower numbers. So I'm going to work with it. Does not matter which one you pick, okay? Does not matter. The first one I picked because it was positive. The second one is because 1 and 2 are smaller numbers than 2 and 5. That's it. But you can pick either one. What's your y coordinate? 2. What was our m? What's our x coordinate? 1. And then we put plus b. Our third step is solve for b. I get 2 equals 3 plus b. How do I get rid of the 3? It's a positive, so I'm going to subtract it. And I get that b equals 2 minus 3 is -1. That's how I get my equation. My equation is y equals mx, so 3x, and then I got a -1. That's it. Nothing crazy. And so how'd you get a sheet of paper out? Because you're probably going to have to do that on your EDF stuff. It's already going to have it out. And again, this is exactly what we're doing on our notes today. Exactly. Okay, so I'm teaching you like multiple times, and then we're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular tomorrow, parallel today, but it's the same exact steps. Okay. Y minus y over x minus x. What are your two y coordinates on this one? 2 minus -2. And I'll just write it with 2 minuses. That's fine. 2 minus -2. Your two x's are 0 minus -1. And again, you guys can do that in your calculator. Alpha y equals 2 minus -2, 0 minus -1. What do we get? 4. And remember that 4 is your m. The second thing we're going to do is write our equation, y equals mx plus b. Which point should I choose? 0, 2 or -1, -2? 0, 2 looks easier, so that's the one I'm going to pick. Okay, what's your y coordinate? 2. What's your m? 4. What's your x? 0 plus b. 4 times 0 is 0, so it doesn't matter. And I get 2 equals b. So that's how I'm going to write my equation. Y equals 4x plus 2. That's it. Say it again. Well, and this I didn't really teach you, so that's my fault. And I told y'all to make sure that if you didn't finish your EDIA stuff on Friday, as long as you started it, we were okay. So I gave you your credit for that, but go back and finish it now. So everything else on that EDIA assignment was super easy, except for this part because it was kind of crazy. Okay, so now what we're going to do is do 2 more. That'll give us fractions, okay? So you guys can see how we work on fractions. So we're going to do the same steps. The only thing is it's going to give us a fractional slope. So what are my 2 y's on this one? So -1 minus -2. What are my 2 x's? -5 minus -1. Put them in your calculator. Alpha y equals -1 minus -2, -5 minus -1. I got -1/4, which is perfectly fine. That's my m. We write our equation, y equals mx plus b. Both of these are really crappy points. Pick whichever one, it doesn't matter. -1, -2 is a little bit smaller, but again, it does not matter which one you pick. What's your y coordinate? What was your m? -1/4. What's our x? -1 and then plus b. I'm going to use my calculator. -1/4 times -1 gives me 0.25, or if I make it a fraction, 1/4. I don't care which way you do it, but remember that as long as it's a decimal like this, 1/4 is fine because you can put that in EDIA, but if it's a repeating decimal, you cannot. How do I solve? I have a positive 1/4, so I subtract it. And you guys can use your calculator. -2 minus 1/4. And I get -2.25. That will go in EDIA, but to change it to a fraction, math, enter, and you get -9/4. Those 2 numbers make your equation. My equation is y equals -1/4 x, and then I'm minus 9/4. I'm going to do number 10. We'll do number 10 because that gives you those repeating decimals that won't go in EDIA. This one, you could have gave me decimal form and have been fine on EDIA. Okay, so if you want to use decimals, a combination of both, that's fine. But look at number 10. First step, y minus y over x minus x. What are your 2 y's? -2 minus -4. Your 2 x's. So when I put that in my calculator, try to get it all in the same time. Alpha y equals -2 minus -4 over -2 minus -5 gives me 2/3. If I do 2/3 regular, it gives me that repeating decimal that I said was really crappy that EDIA will not take. So if I did it and I got that, just hit math, enter, and get your 2/3. So that's your m. Okay. We're going to plug in. You can pick either one. I like -2 because I know I can't screw that up. Y is -2. M was 2/3, X was -2 as well. We want to multiply 2/3 times -2. You see we get a nasty decimal, so we do math, enter. We get -2 equals -4/3 plus B. How do I get -4/3 on the other side? Add it. Perfect. Thank you. So -2 plus 4/3 gives you a nasty decimal again. Math, enter. I get B equals -2/3. So here's your M, here's your B. So your equation is y equals +2/3 X minus 2/3. So that one on EDA, you would have to do fractions, okay? You would have to. All right. Any questions so far? And I know I'm kind of going quick, but we're going to do the same thing with parallel, okay? Remember, you can always go back and watch these videos as well. All right, so grab your notes for today. And there's a lot of them. We're not doing a lot of them, okay? We're not doing a lot of them. Why? Because we already did 5 or 6 problems of the same thing. All right, so what does parallel mean? Tell me what your definition of parallel lines are.
What?
Tell me. What's wrong? Do y'all not have those notes? Y'all may have. Yeah, that's fine. It's okay. It's because y'all weren't here first. No worries. So we're on like the 4th, so keep going. Keep going pretty deep in this packet, right? One more. Right there. It's about middle of the packet. Y'all good? Sorry about that. B day has them, A day didn't. I apologize. All right, so what does parallel mean? Tell me about parallel lines. They never touch. Do you know why they never touch? This is what's important to us. They have the same slope. So parallel lines have the same slope. And that's all that matters in this course is that they have the same slope. So remember, that's M in our equation, or the number in front of X when it's solved for Y. So if you look at number 1, it says it wants it parallel to this equation. That just means we're going to have the same slope. So your answer is going to look like this. We already have everything except for B. Okay. So when you do your EDA assignment, you just go ahead and type y equals whatever the slope is, x plus, and then solve it and type in your answer, okay? So it automatically starts at the beginning of that equation. So the way we figure out the rest is the same way that you've been doing it. This is your x and your y. So we're going to do y equals mx plus b like we just did. What is our x coordinate? 3. I'm sorry, 3. What is our y coordinate? 4. Our m was, or our slope was -1/3. And we got to solve for b. Okay. So we got to do this inside like we just did. -1/3 times 3. What did we get? So we get 4 equals -1 plus b. This is always do the opposite. It's a -1, so it's a +1. 4 plus 1 is 5. That's your answer right there. Okay. I'm going to skip 2 and 3, 4 for a minute. We're going to go to number 5. Okay, we're going to go to number 5. Has everybody got number 1? We're okay? All right, look at number 5. It will always be the beginning of the equation. So my answer is going to be y equals negative 1/2 x plus something. I got to figure out what that something is. I use my coordinate to plug in for x and y. What's my y coordinate? What was my slope? Negative 1/2. It's the only number that I need in the equation. What is my x coordinate? 4. And then we have plus b. Now it's just solve for b. So you're going to put these two in your calculator. It's the same steps every time, guys. And we get negative 2. How do we get b by itself? Do the opposite. Instead of negative 2, it's a positive 2. If you have to, use your calculator. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. And that's what finishes out your equation up here. So y equals negative 1/2 x. You can put in plus negative 3, or you can have minus 3. It is the same thing that we just did, except for we don't have to find the slope. Okay, so it's one step less. It'll take plus negative 3, yes. But make sure you put that y equals in. Sometimes it gives you y equals, and sometimes it makes you plug it, like type it in. So don't miss it just because you have to type in y equals. All right, so check out the next one. Let's do number 7. My answer is going to be y equals negative 2x plus something. I don't know what. We'll figure it out. We're going to use y equals mx plus b. What's our y coordinate? 3. Our slope, the only number in our equation is our slope. Okay, so negative 2. Our x is 0 from right here. And then plus b. Negative 2 times 0 is 0, so it cancels out. And it just gives us 3, which goes right up there. And that's the answer we type in EDM. Yes, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And tomorrow is pretty much the same thing. We just got to change the slope a little bit. Okay. All right. So let me show you these with the x equals 0. If it's parallel and it gives you just one variable instead of like the equation y equals, it gives you x equals. If it gives you x equals 0, then you're going to write x equals because it's the same. And then what is your x value? What's your x value? What's your x coordinate? Negative 2. That's it. Literally it. That's all you do. Okay. So if you look at number 2, it says parallel to x equals 0. So that means keep the same variable and tell me what x is equal to. What's your x coordinate? 1. All right. So I'm going to change this one a little bit. What if it says y equals 0? If it says y equals 4, y equals 8, it doesn't matter what it says. It's just y. There's no x in this at all. You guys see that? Then we keep the same y. And what's your y coordinate? Negative 4. So just in case they have a couple of those on your EDO. All right. Flip to the back. These are all the same things. I'm going to try to do an easy one. One more easy one, and then I'll stop and let you work. So let's do 13. We're just going to use the beginning of the equation. And then we got to fill in that blank. So the way we fill it in is we write our equation. What is your y coordinate? What's your y coordinate? Negative 3. Your m is the only number in the equation that I wrote in the beginning, so 4. Your x coordinate from up here is negative 1. And then you're going to solve for b. We get negative 3 equals 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. And then to get rid of -4, you add 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. Use your calculator as much as you want to. Use your scrap paper. That number goes in your blank. That's what's going in EDIA. If you get one like 15, I'm not going to do 15. I just want to show you. Remember, this is the same thing as having +0 on the end. It doesn't matter. You don't need that because you're going to start with your 2/5 x and then just put that blank. So it's the same thing. Okay. Any questions? And then solve it out. That's it. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording.